Hello everyone, today we're back on the War Thunder Update 1.79 dev server and we're having a look at the Sd.Kfz.221 s.Pz.B.41. What a wonderful name. This is a rank 1, a battle rating 1.3 machine, and what you're getting out of it is a go-kart with a slightly, well, decent gun on it. You have the 28-20mm on top of it. It isn't an autocannon or anything like that. It does have a reload rate of 3.6 seconds, but it does have some wonderful gun depression and also some gun elevation. And what this thing to me is going to be is we're going to go somewhere really quick on the battlefield, and we're going to stomp somebody in the side and just keep running around like a little midget and be able to make sure nobody sees us and just annihilate everything that we see. So 72 km/h top speed. Remember, it's an armored car, so that will be a lot lower than advertised. 66 horsepower in this wonderful little tractor engine that we have here. And if we look at the modifications, I'll actually gold it out while I talk about it. So first of all, the obvious things to go for is parts, and this time I would say tires, just for the maneuverability of this small vehicle. Then we have FPE, of course, and then depending on if you feel like the gun isn't firing straight, adjustment of fire. But generally at these lower tiers, what you'll end up with is a fight which is very, very close corners, so therefore you don't really need that extra accuracy, especially when we look at the penetration of the gun, so it may be worth once again staying down the mobility side after getting the FPE. Now, looking at the later ones, generally the transmission and the engine are the ones which actually make a difference with these armored cars. If you look at the other Sd.Kfzs, we have the 2344 and the Puma. What happens with them is if you don't have the transmission and the engine, they struggle a lot with either inclines or just general terrain instead of just standard terrain. So it is really important to be able to get those mobility stuff. As we can see from it, it seems like this guy is stood up too high on the X-ray view, but we'll have a look in the test drive. He's also clipping through the turret itself, so there's definitely something going wrong with good old Gerhardt over here. He's definitely not in the right position. If I'm going to be a little bit serious about it, I would say he should be shifted to the right and down a little bit. The armor values, the most you're going to get out of it is the gun itself is 17, but you also get 14.5 here and here. This isn't really going to stop anything, maybe a 7.7, and then 8mm on the side. So this is not a machine that you're going to struggle to pen. It's going to be a very easy machine to kill since it's only 2 crew, so in realistic, once you knock one out, the whole thing is dead. But if we look at the gun itself, this is where it gets interesting. So first of all, it's APCR. It's not a very big APCR round, 0.14 kilos, but the muzzle velocity is insane. 1400 meters per second. On top of this, it has 95 millimeters of penetration at 10 meters, and even at 566 millimeters. So this machine is not going to struggle at penning anything that it fights. The issue with it is going to be damage, so you're going to have to really focus on accuracy. But to me, it feels very much similar to, I should actually have a look at the stock reload for you. So the stock reload is 3.9, the top is 3, so there you go. I feel like it's going to be like a Cromwell, where with a Cromwell you've got really high penetration with it, but the issue that you have is doing a lot of damage with it. Now with the AP buff that has come to the Cromwell, you don't have as much of an issue, but the main thing that you need to focus on is being able to aim your shots well. That's going to be exactly the same with this thing. And since it's quite low tier, you're going to come up to a lot of vehicles which should be quite easy to kill in this, but overall, you may have problems getting to positions to be able to kill them. As you can see, the lad in the top is very much high, and at the moment on the dev server, you can probably see he's clipping through the top there. And when he when he turns the gun, it isn't clipped. When he turns it this way, he's clipped on the other side. So either Gerhardt here is his shoulders are a bit too wide, or, you know, the modeling just needs to be sorted a little bit. But yeah, this is the maximum traverse that you can get on the gun. It looks to me like pretty much a 45-degree angle from either side, which isn't great, but it's good enough if you're trying to use it in an aggressive position. Also, the gun itself, as I said, 20mm with a very good reload. No machine gun on this machine at all. And if we go to the driver's hatch is wonderful. And something that I want to show you. Look at the mirror. The mirror kind of works. It's very similar to the mirrors that we find in air. Like if you go into either I believe a Hurricane or a Spitfire, it has in the cockpit a mirror that looks behind you. Well, this has mirrors either side of the driver's hatch, which you can actually see, and you can even see in this mode kind of that it is kind of working, which is really cool. I mean, it's one of those little effects that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, nobody's really going to use this, but it's just awesome to see. Also, surprisingly, the commander's view is here. So in Simulator, you're way above the vehicle right now. Now, as I said, this is the dev server, so just be a little bit pessimistic. There might be a few changes here and there. But the gun depression is wonderful, so you can sit on a hill and snipe. The gun elevation is not as good as other vehicles, but it's good enough. And overall, you just have a little speedster. So what I'm going to show you is the speed on this. This is 4 tons, so it's not really surprising that you know, it goes this quickly. First of all, we're just going to test the reverse. 12 kilometers an hour, good enough, especially for a rank 1 vehicle. But now we put it into 5th gear already. We're up to 30 kilometers an hour in very quick time. So this really is going to be one of those little, I hate to say it, but kind of a meme machine. And what I mean by that is a lot of people are going to take this thing into higher tiers, they're going to sit it in a bush somewhere, and they're going to try and kill something with its 90mm of penetration, since that's enough to easily go through the sides of the majority of MBTs that we see at high tiers. We see this also with stuff like the ASU-57, and well, we're going to see it with this as well. Apart from this is a 1.3. So yeah, penetration, you're not really going to have to worry about too much. The APCR round can be a little bit annoying, especially when you shoot for angles, so therefore shooting at flat parts is obviously the best thing to do. So shooting this machine, we can easily take it out in one hit if we wanted, but I just wanted to show you the aimer, because the first thing you might notice is, as I said, the muzzle velocity is insane. Second of all, it gets a better zoom than rank 4 British main battle tanks, which is incredibly surprising and incredibly annoying, but it is how it is when it comes to this. Unfortunately, the British rank 4 tanks do not get very good optical zooms, whereas this thing, a armoured car for Germany, in rank 1 does. It does have a spare wheel as well, always nice. The details on this little vehicle are very good. The spade, of course, and all of the extra, the jerry can or the fuel can, all of them make the vehicle feel alive instead of just feel like a silver box. But anyway, let's just set up here. The manoeuvrability is very similar to a Daimler car. It's less springy than a Daimler car, meaning that its suspension is a little bit tighter, so that'll actually be nice. But even we should be able to penetrate the front of stuff like T-34s, maybe on the turret if I try it. You got to remember, yeah, there you go. But the T-34 is angled on the upper glacis, so therefore shooting it with APCR is going to be kind of a no bueno. But being able to pen the turret on the flat parts is very useful for machines like this, and we should be able to pen the side as well. Over and over again, you could kill this guy and then move on. Remember, a T-34 you will never actually see in this armoured car, but as I said, a lot of people I think are just going to up-tier this because they're able to. They're going to run Sturmpanzer, Panzer II-H and this thing, and go into 9-0 battles. Shooting from the side, of course, you can easily go through. APCR generally isn't very good at setting fires, but it sometimes will. The main issue you're going to have is against stuff like T-28s, because it's going to take you a ton of shots to be able to kill a T-28, because it has a ton of crew, and it has a ton of compartments, so you're either going to have to try and set it on fire 3 times, or try and kill its turret 3 times, which is never going to be the easiest thing. On the move, this thing is okay, I suppose, stability-wise to shoot. You can pen the side of a T-44 if you want to, but I mean, it's better than some tanks that I've seen. It's definitely worse than others when we look at the bounciness of the gun itself. It is kind of a nice thing. I wish they would fix the models on all of these guys, because you see it with the AA crew and now you see it with this guy. while we're driving around in a combat zone, I don't want Gerhardt to be looking at the sky and wondering what the hell's going on. It would be nice if Gerhardt was focusing on what was in front of him instead of looking at the stars or thinking that he's going to heaven. It's a it's a very odd scenario that we run into. But anyway, let's turn, just see if we can pen this frontally. I'm pretty sure we can't, but it's always worth a try. There we go. And Shabuzi. No, I don't think so. I mean, it's quite a rough shot anyway. Yeah, I don't think we can. But yeah, it's a nice little speedster. It's something that, for new players, it will be a hell of a lot of fun. A little bit of speed and a good gun on it, which doesn't do a ton of damage. It's going to help people learn where to shoot. It's going to help people, you know, have fun by going around quickly, and also to hide your armor, which seems to be the meta at higher tiers. So overall, I am very much in favor of this vehicle. And since this, at least on this terrain here, seems to move a lot better than some of the armored cars of old, we're going to have to test it on heavy terrain at some point. I can't wait to see the Soviet armored cars, the more American ones, and also more British ones, since, you know, they will bring a different way of playing the game. I can even pen the side of a KV. Bonk. And also annihilate my wheel. But yeah, it's a nice, fun little thing. I think it's either the same BR as the Key 32 or the lowest BR in game. So if you are looking to grind out stuff, this should be the first one to go for. But I'm gonna have a hell of a lot of fun with this thing, just like I did with the Daimler when it came out. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.